Hello, everyone. So today my topic is on Web 3.0 and its implications for digital governance. To begin, it is helpful to understand the evolution of the internet. We can think of the different phases of the internet as the past, present, and the future. Web 1.0 was the past, Web 2.0 is the present, and Web 3.0 is the future. Web 1.0 was developed with a goal of a libertarian utopia, and there was hope for the internet to become a space where people could be free. Web 1.0 operated as a content delivery network that facilitated displaying information on websites. It was a read-only web, and there was no way for people to interact with the content, but just view content instead. Web 2.0 is a step up from that and operates as a read and write web because users can generate content and make it accessible to billions of users instantly. This phase of the internet also introduced the privatization of the internet. Lastly is Web 3.0. This is the future of the internet, and it aims to transform the web into a database and shift from data ownership to data sharing. Its main focus is decentralization. Web 3.0 will be built on blockchain technology, and its main feature will be decentralization so that people can be in charge of their own information without relying on corporations or governments to have that control. The main concept of Web 3.0's development is to achieve a level of democratization that puts users in charge of their own autonomy to mitigate the issues that come along with control and authority by the government and big tech companies. Authoritarian regimes and politics are on the rise, and so is widespread public distrust in government relations all over the globe. As a result, many individuals of the public and people who are technology optimistic have called for the disruption of the status quo, leading to a more democratic regime of governance. These individuals are so optimistic about technology that they believe that decentralization of government through technology would be able to solve the issues that are associated with authoritarian regimes and therefore result in a more democratic and free society. There are three layers of technical infrastructure that Web 3.0 will be built on. These are decentralized data networks, edge computing, and artificial intelligence. Users will be able to interact mainly through artificial intelligence and machine learning. Artificial intelligence will use the internet to help suggest products and services, videos, and other content to users based on their web searches. The new technologies will remove the boundaries between digital content and the real world. This can be done through three-dimensional graphics, augmented and virtual reality, Internet of Things, and 5G networks. For example, 3D graphics have already been implemented in websites and applications, computer games, real estate property tours, etc. With decentralization being at the forefront of Web 3.0's development, it lacks a central governing authority. Therefore, there are three main concerns that regulators find challenging to navigate when it comes to Web 3.0's implementation. The first one is privacy and disclosure. One of the attractive features of the blockchain technology that Web 3.0 will be built on is that people will have privacy and security over their own personal data. This could be detrimental in a way because it could facilitate fraudulent activity by making criminals harder to track. Since Web 3.0 will be linked through a network of computers, the semantic network also increases the capability for individuals to access public and private information that people put on the internet. The main concern is how much disclosure is required by the government, and depending on that, what implications will this have on individual privacy in the continued development of this technology? If government regulation becomes too intense, this could stall the development of Web 3.0. On the other hand, if government regulation is not heavy enough, criminal activity may be prosperous in such an environment. Regulators have yet to determine whether the protection of personal data needs to be more of a focus. The second concern are jurisdictional concerns. There are concerns over who has control within a decentralized internet. There are also concerns about how individual laws would be applied and to whom they would be applied to. There is also a question of whether this sort of new decentralized internet would be able to become its own jurisdiction. New and revised regulations in case law could determine how the law is applied in individual situations. Additionally, experts have expressed concerns over whether decentralization will aggravate the issues that come along with monitoring and regulating Web 3.0. This could exacerbate an escalation in cybercrime, online abuse, and other issues that need to be mitigated. The previous CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, expressed concerns that users would not have any ownership in Web 3.0, even though that is the popular belief. There was a possibility that Web 3.0 projects would be owned by venture capitalists and investors and therefore Web 3.0 will still be somewhat centralized. Lastly, are concerns over the protections of investors. Investors have been able to benefit from the lucrative opportunities that virtual tokens and blockchain technology have to offer. As a result, regulators are worried about the potential for money laundering and other fraudulent activities to take place. Moreover, protecting investor interests has become one of the priorities of regulators. The financial implications of blockchain technology and legal infrastructure to address these issues have yet to be fully determined. If regulation becomes too intense, the development of Web 3.0 could be limited. There are reasons to be skeptical about Web 3.0, especially when it comes to its plans for democracy and society. The proponents of Web 3.0 could be misguided in thinking that technology and its advancements would promote their idealistic future of democracy and will solve all or most of the socio-political problems that occur in current society. It may be helpful to think that before Web 1.0 was implemented, proponents of the internet also thought of the internet as a method of promoting democracy in the 1990s. In 1996, John Perry Barlow, a proponent of cyberspace from Switzerland, mentioned that the internet would be a libertarian paradise free of government interference. Other scholarly proponents also shared similar sentiments. Unfortunately, they were left disappointed, and social scientists are beginning to believe that Web 3.0 will also fail to achieve this idealized forms of democracy and decentralization. While the design of 3.0 will aim to be decentralized, it may achieve the opposite outcome. There are only a few companies that have wealth and influence in Web 3.0. For example, only companies like Amazon and Microsoft host the majority of blockchain nodes and the centrally owned cloud data storage services. As a result, crypto, NFT, and Bitcoin adoption will cause a disproportionate amount of participants by these companies compared to newer or smaller companies. This gives large companies some sort of leverage and power over individuals. Proponents of Web 3.0 have also focused a lot of attention on the negative effects of centralization. However, there are some benefits to centralization that need to be considered, especially when it comes to safety in the digital space for users. Centralization could ensure that spammers, trolls, fake news, and criminals are minimized on platforms. It can ensure that accounts that have the potential to cause harm are removed from the platform, whereas blockchain technology is a decentralized platform that may make this difficult. Regulators and decision makers have yet to determine what content moderation, account removal, and trust and safety protocols would look like on 3.0 platforms. I also found this quote from Greg Johnson that says, while Web 3.0 may have a decentralized architecture, it is currently on the path of having a small number of individuals with disproportionate influence, a significant presence of big tech, and under-addressed safety challenges. That doesn't sound all that different from the internet of today. This could mean that the plans for Web 3.0 may not actually achieve what it's meant to achieve, and all of the plans for its infrastructure will not be worth it. And Web 3.0 would ultimately face the same challenges that we currently face in Web 2.0. As for recommendations, the first recommendation is the adoption of competition and consumer protection laws and policies. With the implementation of Web 3.0, it is important to ensure that there are competition laws in place that can protect smaller companies from being overshadowed by the bigger companies. Currently, big tech corporations such as Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft dominate the internet space, which makes it difficult for smaller companies with exceptional services to compete with these platforms. These big platforms hold a critical mass of users in the digital space, and users feel like these are the only companies that they trust to use. In Web 3.0, there needs to be competition laws in place to allow smaller firms to thrive in the internet space and social media niche as well. Each platform should be designed to align with different types of values of different users so that there is a platform for everyone. The second option is to not get rid of decentralization completely, even if government intervention is still eliminated. Although proponents of Web 3.0 advocate for platforms to become decentralized, decentralization could have negative effects on digital governance. This could promote an environment where fake news and criminal activity could foster. Centralization would ensure that platforms have protocols in place to minimize, mitigate, and prevent spammers, fake news, and criminal activity from happening. It is still possible to keep government intervention out of its design if that's what proponents wish for. However, centralization would give the big tech companies the authority to ensure that the internet space is protected and users are safe. But government intervention could be helpful to keep big tech platforms accountable as well. The third option is that there needs to be more support for Web 3.0 research. While Web 3.0 is still a fairly new concept and there is not much on its literature, it's hard to determine its implementation or regulation. It's hard to determine what are the right routes to support it coming to fruition. It is important to keep up with research as it grows and to put findings into action. Additionally, it should be a requirement for tech companies to design their platforms in ways that would eliminate or deal with forms of abuse from the start of their implementation. Focusing on addressing abuse from the start would help companies to avoid having to fix issues when it's too late. We have seen this happen in Web 2.0 with issues such as misinformation, fraud, and child safety. As for costing, the market opportunity for bringing Web 3.0 to life may cost over $1 trillion. And shifts in the legal infrastructure might alter the development of Web 3.0 years ahead. In the coming years, it is important to pay keen attention to the decisions of key stakeholders such as regulators, judges, and political parties. Thank you.